Obviously, divorces are not pleasant regardless of the situation, but a high conflict divorce has an elevated sense of drama and stress, which affects everybody involved, particularly the children. What we typically see is an unhealthy parent with those narcissistic qualities, and then the safe parent, which has typically been the recipient of abuse in the marriage. So it could be psychological abuse, physical abuse. We refer to them as the unhealthy parent and usually the safe parent. Like a safe and healthy parent will try to mitigate that stress on the children, whereas the unhealthy parent will actually deliberately cause more stress on the children in order to influence the situation. When that person finally seeks safety through a divorce and provides some separation, at that time, often the children will experience that they are now the recipients of abuse in proxy of the victim. We refer to it as post-separation abuse or domestic abuse by proxy. What oftentimes happens is the safe parent, who is trying to separate from their abuser, they will respond being very protective of the children. And when that happens, the safe parent gets accused of a variety of things that are going to cast doubt on the safe parent's capabilities to safely parent the children. In Gallatin County, we are unfortunately known as a national hotspot for parental alienation syndrome. What that is during a high conflict divorce, we have a safe parent who is seeking protection from their abuser. The abuser will realize that the children are favoring their safe parent because they're the safe parent, which makes perfect sense. But what happens is they get entrenched with an unethical counselor or guardian ad litem, a corrupted court system, whatever the situation might be, and usually the unsafe or unhealthy parent is instructed that what you need to do is call this parental alienation or parental alienation syndrome, PA is what we call it, because that way you have an accusation to make against the safe parent as to why the children are not wanting to spend parenting time with you. We have lifetime orders of protection on the unsafe parent issued by the same judge or standing master that you're before later in this high conflict custody situation. And at the recommendation of a guardian ad litem, forget about the past history of abuse, the police reports, the bruises, ignore all of that information. What's actually going on here is the safe parent is actually alienating the children deliberately against the unsafe parent. And so we have seen numerous times the standing master here take children from their safe parent and put them back in the home of the abuser that actually had an order of protection on them at one time. Very unusual and problematic, because now the children are with an unsafe parent with a history of abuse, and they are kept from seeing or having contact with their safe parent, which again allows for the abuse to escalate in the home where the children now reside. Family court is a huge drama, which is why judges don't like it. They are overloaded already in their cases, so they hire what's called a standing master or a magistrate. That is an unelected judge, essentially. It's very common in family court that a judge will assign a guardian ad litem, which is in theory a very good idea. The judge doesn't have time to get into the personal lives of all the players involved with the child, so they'll assign somebody who's qualified to interview, meet everybody involved, and make recommendations to the court. The guardian ad litem is supposed to be the eyes and ears of the court. It's a huge responsibility. We have loosely worded or poorly worded legislation regarding the responsibilities of a guardian ad litem and also the qualifications. We do have some court-appointed guardian ad litems here that are not CASA certified, but through their relationship with the standing master have become her favorites to assign to cases. And what we have discovered is that these women are not trained by an official organization. They've been privately trained by a private organization, in this case it's called Family Bridges, where they're taught a very specific modality of being a guardian ad litem. They're taught to market themselves as guardian ad litems to the court. They're explained in detail in their playbook, we call it, on what points they need to have in the reports to the court in order to make the recommendation for parental alienation and then funnel children into their private programs. This is incredibly dangerous. Even if the Family Bridges type of model was a legitimate treatment for this condition called parental alienation, it's still incredibly fraudulent to market yourself as a neutral third party, which a guardian ad litem is supposed to be, when you're approaching the family and situation with premeditated outcomes right from the beginning. Instead of doing an intake form getting you to explain your family situation to them, the first thing they have you do is fill out a financial intake form so they can determine if you can actually afford what they're about to put you through. It's incredibly expensive. It's court ordered to a minimum of usually $5,000 retainer fee for a guardian ad litem. If you can't pay it, then that could potentially put you in a situation of a contempt of court. Or we have a situation oftentimes where only one parent can afford it. And then when one parent is only paying the guardian ad litem, who's financially motivated to begin with, they're clearly going to be writing the reports in favor of whoever is paying them. So the entire situation, it's just a breeding ground for corruption to occur. And there are very simple remedies around this, but one thing that we want to always recognize is that there are legitimate, good-hearted, completely neutral guardian ad litems that can be assigned to families that are in need, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Where you have a problem is when you have guardian ad litems abusing the privilege and responsibility through the court system and propping up their own financial interests ahead of the children they're supposed to be working for. In our situation, Family Bridges was recommended for our son. The child is forcibly transported out of state to a camp, a program for at least 4 days, where they undergo horrific experiences, according to the children who we've interviewed that have been through the Family Bridges program. And it's called mental reorientation. It's where they try and convince the child that the abuse they have encountered or the abuse they've witnessed of their mom or siblings is not true, and that they really do want to be with the person they were seeking safety from. And it's incredibly unsuccessful. A 20-year study showed that 98.6% of the time they refused to have any contact with the parent that they were forced to live with. With statistics like that, you would think that a court would never actually order a child into a program like that, but they still do. What we need to realize is that this is a very incestuous situation. We have a standing master who is good friends with a half a dozen or so women that she will regularly appoint as guardian ad litems. She will appoint counselors as reunification therapists. She will make specific and unusual recommendations for the safe parent to only see the children at a place where there's supervised visits. Very unusual orders that don't make any sense whatsoever. But when you start to realize that all of these people involved are receiving a financial benefit for creating the situation, it starts to make sense. This system that most of us parents consider very broken is absolutely working for someone. Whoever's making the money is who it's working for. And despite the needs of the children, they will continue to allow the abuse to happen in order to preserve the financial business model that they have running through the family court system. It's essentially racketeering. This is a business. You are a number, your children are a commodity, and that's what it comes down to. And the hundreds of cases that we can track and find that have roots or origins or some connection to Bozeman, Montana, tell the complete story. One of the ways that this continues is because the cases get unnecessarily sealed. They claim it's to protect the minor children, but it actually is a way to cover up the corruption, because only when a case is sealed can you Obviously, you can't access it, you can't research case history, and you can't link all the dots together. There are a few cases that they neglected to seal. Those people coming forward have allowed us to realize this is a much bigger operation than what we originally thought. And consequently, it's going to allow us to unseal other cases because there is clear evidence of fraud going on. Solutions to a problem like this are going to actually start in the legislation that the state has. So in Montana, if we could get parties on both sides of the aisle to cooperate and sponsor legislation that is going to actually put the best interest of the children first, we're going to start seeing positive results right away. This isn't always just about getting legislation passed either. This is about actually having judges and people within the court system also operating in a completely neutral fashion in the best interest of the children. Sometimes you'll have a bill pass, but if you don't have the players involved being held accountable, then it's as if it just was never there to begin with. In Montana, for example, we have a huge lack of accountability for our judicial officials. And whenever there's lack of accountability, whenever you have lack of transparency in a situation, you will in fact find corruption. Most people are not aware of what's going on. It's only the people that have the unfortunate experience of going through a high conflict divorce and custody situation that are probably going to become aware of the situation at all. And once you become aware of it through experience, it's already too late. You've already become a victim of the system. So I would like people in general to be aware that this does in fact exist. It exists in beautiful Bozeman, Montana. We are considered one of the safest and best places to raise a family, but whatever you do, do not get divorced here, go through a custody situation here, because we don't have people in the judicial capacity in place or the support resources in place in order to properly care for children going through this system. I knew based on my situation that until we had more accountability at a judicial level, we were never going to receive any justice in our case. My children will never be home and never be safe and balanced until we have a person making the decisions held accountable for what they're doing. So I reached out to this organization. They have been a tremendous support to me. They have provided resources. We've worked together to be able to contact more people in need, and they have absolutely validated the situation that I was going through and been able to connect me with more people dealing with my situation. And as a result, we're much stronger together, making a difference every single day. I would highly encourage people to go to their website to be able to find more information regarding this topic and resources that can help.